Well, John, we may have to readjust that countdown intro music. I'm like falling
That's
asleep here.
that's not what I remember from the good old StreamYard archives.
Well, John and I were just joking. I said we don't do this ever. So I think it's been
Right.
65 days since we
Oh wow.
podcast. So I come on StreamYard, everything's different. But true, because I do listen to my Kraken podcast, and they had started using that. I thought, oh, maybe they've gone in and tweaked because like everyone uses the default, just like dun,
Right.
dun, dun, dun. I go, wow, they're really no. I guess StreamYard decided all of that. Well, we are back here. Jenna's checking in. Everyone's saying hi, John. We are here the week of the UFL kickoff, Monday this week. We'll get to all of that. Pat Rifino will be stopping by soon. John's on here today, making time during his workday.
Whoa.
Here we are, week of kickoff. John, let's just check in, say hi. How are you? And then we'll kind of set the scene here.
I'm good, man. I'm excited about this week. It's finally here. It feels like we've been talking about it forever. I have some concerns about Friday night that we'll talk about. But I'm really looking forward to what this season holds. We've talked before about if this is a make or break season. I think I was on that. I was kind of on that train that this is a make or break season, but I also think maybe it's more of a pivotal season. And I think, and what I mean by that is maybe if, this season is, the equal ratings and equal ticket sales and everything, then that's not necessarily a bad sign. I know they want to see growth, but as they say, we'll take it one week at a time and see what goes on here.
Yeah, so normally we would be generally I go live kind of the day of the game, or we'll kind of do all that stuff.
Right.
The Friday this year makes it challenging. MLB opening day is the night before. We're very excited for that. So this is kind of that this year. John and I are doing the best we can. That's why we have Monday this week. John and I's goal is weekly recaps following the games this week, or excuse me, games this season. Maybe Tuesdays we can get Mike's ratings in there. We'll figure that out, but we're doing the best we can. Pat's been traveling for work. I was gone to I was at spring training, and then I was out in Minneapolis, and then Toronto, watched some fun hockey games, got to go see some other stuff and kind of participate in that. I did kind of some meet and greets with some of the podcasts we listen to, which I always think is exciting to kind of be on the other side of that. But anyway, so this is the best we're doing. Pat will come on here, so we're going to run down the Barlow stuff. We'll talk through all the labor strife stuff. We are going to preview the games. Pat was going to write an article, surprising cuts and things from the UFL. We'll talk the website here and all of that. So we'll get to all the football stuff. But like and subscribe. When we get to 4,000 subscribers, we are giving away a couple Royal Retros custom jerseys. We've done that before. You can get a UFL one. You can get a CFL one. I've even done like a throwback XFL back for the away jerseys for the Dragons that they didn't have a chance to produce back in 2020. So like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up on that. But I was going to tell John is I'm actually building a custom MLB Randy Arozarena Mariner jersey, and Dustin is able actually, because they print everything to order and custom made. Right. He was actually able to stitch me some custom numbering I need that I'm going to apply to another jersey. So even if like, well, what do I need? Or that, I mean, Dustin does baseball stuff on there. The season started. So anything, check out Royal Retros. John has his affiliate link. Do you want to give him that? Because I never did that. So do you want to give him that?
I know you're above that, but I will say, if you go to Royal Retros and you put in code JLS at checkout, you get 10% off your order. So thanks for the plug.
Yeah, well, no, support John. John's going to be on here all season, his channel, John Lewis Sports, and then Pat with Analyze and Educate. We're all part of Alt Football Digest. We haven't had a stream since that. Hope everyone's enjoying that. That's been a little bit more my speed right now, traveling, kind of being able to log in and manage the site as opposed to going live. John, do you feel like, okay, we're week of kickoff here, hype level, I'm seeing a lot of March Madness. We'll talk through the DC Defender stuff, but how are you feeling right now? Because we haven't done a podcast in 2 months, because they're really like, there's things to talk about, but like, are John and I going to sit down for an hour to dissect? Obviously now the week of kickoff, I think we're here, but it's been weird that way. I have felt very, not knowing kind of as a fan. I haven't done as much on the media side this year. What have you made of kind of the preseason?
Well, yeah, there's been little drips and drabs of news, and that, tends to happen because there's just not a lot happening. We get some social media content through training camp, those kinds of things. I mean, the big news drops, and we'll talk about it. Reggie Barlow leaving DC Defenders to go to Tennessee State. There were some surprising cuts. You mentioned Pat's doing an article. I just had a video that came out yesterday, kind of my one surprise for each team. And there were some surprising cuts that, a few of them I just couldn't fathom. So I know there's always more to the story with some of these cuts. But as far as like leading up to game, like I'm excited about it. I've been watching a lot of March Madness. So obviously on, CBS and True TV and TNT and TBS, you're not going to see any UFL content, but here and there watching Sports Center and some of the recap shows on ESPN, I've seen UFL ads. So I'm, really hoping that they kind of start, rolling it out here this week, because this is a big week for Fox and Disney, and certainly for the league and all of us fans.
Yeah, just a quick note here. Yeah, All Access Football, buckle up. That's Rick here checking in. Website's great. Yeah, check out the website, altfootball.com. A little less news, a little bit more like the news happens, and then we have opinions and commentary on that. We have CFL stuff we'll be ramping up. I know Anthony is really kind of back building a lot of that on his own. Tremendous work from Anthony Miller there on that. Pat's episodes go live there automatically when they go up. So does John's, and this will be on there. So, but check out altfootball.com. And we're going to be doing more arena stuff. And I kind of felt like everything had disappeared, right? The UFL board had gone away, and they just the Sports Illustrated that we were kind of being a part of. And I thought, well, we have all these writers and people that need to host. So that's kind of what it is. That's what we've built it to so far. We have some premium articles on there as well, trying to build that membership, which has been website self-sufficient. So it should be good that way in terms of paying for stuff. But anyway, it's been exciting. Check out All Football. Sign up. Mike's got some stuff. Greg breaking down, UFL rulebooks. Normally I would have plugged a lot more of that, but we haven't had a chance to do that. Denzel's putting something in the chat here. I'm going to look at that in a minute. John, do you feel like I guess let's start here. Let's get your immediate reactions to the DC Reggie Barlow stuff, and then we'll kind of move over from there. Came out over the weekend, right? I think James had posted about it, and then I think Jake Russell had posted about it, and then DC came out. They posted. I think it was yesterday. I've been running around all weekend. Yep. Thoughts to that here, and then let me check out something else.
Well, what I thought about it was I was very surprised. It's understandable. I don't know what his contract situation is with Tennessee State yet. I do know that Eddie George was making $400,000 a year with another $100,000 incentive clause in there, or clauses. So the timing is terrible. Anthony Miller has a really good article up on Alt Football Digest right now about, how this can work into the favor of some other assistant coaches that maybe they, we've heard, like, Jared Horton and with AJ Smith, like we thought they might be given a chance to be head coaches in some capacity or another. So with Shannon Harris stepping up to be the interim head coach, I think that is, that's interesting. And you don't want to see.
John, I've got more here. Hang on. So
I was going to say, I don't want to see coach defections right now, but I have a feeling something's breaking right now.
Yeah, James Larson here. Why isn't that Canada stepping away from the showboats for multiple sources? 2 coaches now, week of the season. Yeah. John, you have been on and involved. Candidly speaking, I have not done this much of the media circuit this time, just time-wise and everything else. John, you've been a part of a lot of the showboat stuff. Have you had a chance to interview a head coach or Jaron? What do you make of this? It's pretty crazy.
I don't understand. I mean, you never know, like what situations are, what it could be, but yeah, this is surprising. I have been in on, a few of the Memphis preseason availabilities, talked with Ken Whisenhunt about, all kinds of different things. And he just seemed very, excited about trying to turn Memphis around. And he's been out in the community and, and talked about all the community events. So I don't know what the story behind this is, but this is tough because, as James points out in this tweet, he's the head coach and also the offensive coordinator. This is tough for a team that was really trying to turn things around this year. I have not gotten anything official yet from Memphis, but I'm keeping an eye on it here.
Let's bring Pat on. I think he's the guy on here. Pat, clean shaven here. Let me get rid of this here for a minute so we can see Pat's beautiful face on here, and then bring it back. This won't be breaking news all day. This will be a little bit more of the preview and everything. But Pat, pretty surprising here. 2 coaches. We'll get your thoughts on DC. But what do you make here? Memphis is coming down.
So literally, I just get out of a meeting. Got a got to check out the Twitter X, whatever we call it. And I see this and I'm a venture capitalist, right? But then there's memes on the Instagram that always go late stage capitalism, get a late stage capitalism. Personal opinion, don't really agree with that. But in this stage, the meme is fitting. No bueno. I don't know what's going on with Coach Wiz. I don't, just like John, I'm on a couple of these Memphis Showboats calls. But man, I just for Memphis, just not great. Not great. And obviously you have a little bit of a lack of transparency because you got David Davis. David Davis is obviously like not in camp, gets cut, and then we're all like, and they're like, oh no, it's fine, he's coming back. And then you have, they release Quinton Dormandy with all that stuff, and they bring in a young guy like Dresser Wynn, which I like that Dresser's in this league, but there's not a lot of transparency about that. And is it a league issue? Is it Memphis issue? I think it's kind of both, personally.
Yeah, it sounded like
I'm
sorry. It sounded like the David Davis thing was an injury, some kind of injury deal, but it was really hard to figure out because when I saw the same thing, I'm like, there's no way they cut this guy.
Yeah.
But you're right. That was all that I thought was the issue there. And what DJP just said there, this giving AFL vibes, and that's not a good thing.
Well, and here's my question, I guess, for both of you. It's different sides here. So the DC, obviously, more of a fan favorite team there, right? And a little bit more of a culture. Didn't succeed as much last year, but DC, they have an expectation. Okay, we want to have this team come in and compete and all that stuff. Memphis, on the other hand, has kind of been a dumpster fire since the expansion or relocation, whatever here. Okay, we're going to bring in a new head coach, OC, kind of all that, build this. Now you're losing that. I mean, both of these sting. Both these sting from optics. Pat, which one do you think is worse kind of from that via football or optics wise? And then we'll get to John.
Oh man, I want to say Memphis because I am very blessed that I have a connection to Reggie Barlow and not like a person, like I know people who are in his circle. So it's not that I knew that Reggie was going to leave. I had an understanding that job offers have been extended to Reggie and he was looking for the right fit, money. I don't know the specifics of it, but Reggie was definitely entertaining job offers with something else, like obviously love to be a coordinator at the NFL level, but I don't want to say he's like a very sought after guy, but he's an extremely capable like football coach, a good leader of men to where he did not have to do the DC Defenders. This was kind of like a side quest for him from what I understand and have been told. I'm sad that he's going. I would have loved, because I think they're like in the middle of spring ball right now. I was kind of hoping that they just kind of let him like, hey man, spring ball already started. So like, just get here when you get here type thing. On the flip side, as you were saying, Memphis has just not had it together for the last 3 years. And you're losing the offensive coordinator and the head coach of a team in transition, a little bit bigger of a deal. With Shannon Harris stepping up into that role for DC and keeping Keiss and Williams there, two grown men who have been football coaches and are, older gentlemen, all Harris has to worry about is just leading men. And while that's not an easy task, it's a lot easier to do that than worry about game plans. You can just rah your way and just have Keiss and Williams do the scheme, and you're probably going to be in a good spot. With Memphis, with the lack of continuity, the lack of fan success, the lack of market identity, and now a lack of offensive scheme. I mean, is TJ Veneri going to be the OC now? Like, I don't think he's ever called plays even at Gannon. Nothing against him. You learn when your feet are thrown to the fire, but there's a lot of concern there for a team that really hasn't had much success going back to its days as the Tampa Bay Bandits.
One real quick joke here, John, and then we'll get to you on this. Before I forget to make this joke, Reggie Barlow updated his profile photo today. I said, Reggie, that's way too soon. Way too soon, Reggie. I mean, you can't brother, read the room here. But this is what I like. Obviously, this is spring football, right, John? And we joke about all this, but to me, and I was reading James's article kind of in the background here to see if there was any more details. It says he's stepping away. It could be up to most of the season or part of the season, stepping away versus the Reggie Barlow stand down, but. This still is just horrible optics. Even if you're right, Coach Barlow, you left the week before the season. I don't care that you took a better job. If that all you have is the locker room of men and all that, I'm just curious, John, just come kind of from a personnel standpoint.
Well, Pat brings up a good point. It's spring ball here. And I think, with the transfer portal in college sports now, you're recruiting your own players all the time. And I think that if there were, a lot of players tend to be on the fence in any sport, in college sports, when their coach steps away. Eddie George might take some players with him. It happens. I mean, anyone who's watching March Madness, you're seeing some of these, new coaches who roll into the scene and they're having a run because they brought players from their, previous stop with them because of the transfer portal. You can just, you can play the next year. But so I think that's probably a big part of it is they wanted to hire him and get him, in Nashville as soon as possible, because that's what you're doing all the time. You're always recruiting your own players, and there, now it's official with Ken Wisenhunt. And the optics are bad. It feels like there's more to this story. So I'm not trying to throw Ken Wisenhunt under the bus. There's some issue I think that's happening here, and it's too bad. But because I really felt like this could have been a turnaround for Memphis. I thought the Showboats were poised to have maybe the best turnaround. Now I know the bar was low. They only won a couple of games last year, but it felt like they were putting everything kind of in place to be a little better this year. And they get out in the community. It's just this to me could really just kind of wreak havoc on a already kind of struggling franchise and fan base.
Pat, how do you think, and then we'll transition here, continue on. How do you think UFL management is their mindset here today with both of these here in the span of 72 hours?
I think they're wishing they had a little bit of a time machine and just get it to Friday. Let's get the kickoff. Good. I mean, what is it? There's some sort of saying I make. It's just kind of good football. Character is. You're a genius if you're rich. You're weird if you're poor, or something like that. If we go on the field and the football play is great, less people will talk about it. I think they're just hoping to get the Friday, kick it off, and then everyone starts saying kumbaya and all that stuff. And they do that and they're like, hey man, yeah, we've had some, hiccups along the way, but that was a pretty good game on Friday, right. It sucks, man. This all just kind of sucks because you get a guy like Ken Wisenhunt who's at the end of his coaching career where now he just becomes a consultant and a analyst for a lot of bigger schools and whatnot. And you're like, oh, this guy can just kind of coach football, but really not be crazy invested. He's a guy that we might be able to keep around for 2 or 3 years. And it's unfortunate because he's not there right now. And I don't think we ever really got a question about Flip. I mean, Jeff Fisher did a one and done, Kevin Sumlin, a one and done, Larry Fedora, a one and done. I mean, you kind of want guys who are in their Wade Phillips era who are I'm not really job searching. And you thought Wisenhunt was one of those guys. And it sucks because it's who is your template to hire now? Who is your avatar for your ideal candidate? And they don't have one because based off the last couple of years, it's been all jacked up. And you got Anthony Beck out there tweeting, I also interviewed for the West Virginia job.
Right.
Well,
it's interesting when you read the release here. The quote from Daryl Johnson is it's a joint quote with Russ Brandon and Daryl Johnson. If and when Ken Wisenhunt is ready to return to the UFL family, we will welcome him with open arms. So it sounds like there's something a little bit more behind the scenes that's happening there with him personally. It does say for personal reasons. So
the UFL family. Not the Memphis Showboats family.
Well, I mean, I like your conspiracy theory there. Maybe there's something going on there.
Yeah.
But I just, I hope for him. And there's some bio information. I hope everything is okay with Ken Whisenhunt, because he seems like, again, like you said, he's a guy who is. I thought he was going to come in there, use that experience to kind of turn things around, and that's a tough blow for Memphis and the fans.
Did they announce the interim yet?
Jim Turner, yes, the line coach, right? Yeah.
Is that? But was that from James's tweet, or was that?
No, this is in the release here. It says Brandon and Johnson have named offensive line coach Jim Turner. So it's interesting that it was the CEO and the.
There you go. The way I had it, on my screen, it was just, there we go.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah,
I was like, what the heck does that say? Okay.
Yeah, Jim Turner. So it says it. So it's interesting. It wasn't the GM. It was the league has named their head coach there.
Well, and this gets to this, and I want to transition to the labor strife here. Philip, I see your question. We'll talk opening weekend here in a little bit. I have it starred. This is why, and we'll to the labor strife. When you have players like, we're going to sit out or whatever, what leverage do you have? 2 head coaches just walked out of the building the week up, and obviously, like we said, we're presuming that Ken's situation is different, right? I think it's a little worse optics, for Reggie Barlow to take the job the week before. I understand why he did that. That's just all that stuff. But yeah, that's why I never understand it, and they should. I mean, I support players getting what they want, but you don't have any leverage in that. Pat, do you have updated thoughts on that as we transition? And then I do want to we'll look matchups and talk actual teams here, I promise.
Man, literally, I get out of this meeting at like 11:57, and I think I might have said the word leverage about 27,000 times. Leverage, people. Like, guys and gals do not understand when they are not in positions of power. And I'm going to come off like a corporate shill a little bit. When you are not in a position of power, you do not have say. And this is the thing, is when they got rid of AJ McCarron, I personally feel they lost a lot of leverage, because everyone knows who AJ McCarron is. And I think if he was leading the charge, a couple more people would listen, because he had the financial backing and he also had the name recognition and the play on the field. This wasn't Matt McGloin going out there or Landry Jones. Statistically, AJ has been the best quarterback outside of Magoo's 2023, which you can technically argue in this league, and he had the brand. When you don't have leverage, you don't have power. Realistically, and I think, John, you said this, you could get 24 more quarterbacks and we're all still watching. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of other guys out there, and maybe would the quality of play go down a little bit? Possibly. I don't know, because the thing is, if they all step out and you bring in some more like you remove and replace the players, if they're all a little less skilled, they're all going to look the same, like as far as on the skill level. And we're going to be watching Division II football, which is still some pretty good football to the average viewer, which 90% of people do not care. But there's so many guys who also went to big schools that are killing to get in this league, and they would do it. It's an unfortunate fact, and I wish these guys would also make 150 grand plus and have the insurance, but they don't have leverage, and we don't know what the P&Ls are.
It just it felt weird to me, and then John, I'll toss you. It just felt weird, and I was really, the day it all came out, and I want to talk a little bit more about the optics of it before we move on. So many people on here, and I never even realized the fan kind of aspect of it before I got into this. Like, people really love spring football and really love and obsessed, and the players, and we followed this, and we follow them online, and we DM them, and we do all that. And it was crazy to me that it's the same with the CFL, where you have this connection with the fans, and then I'm not a player, I'm not on the field, but as soon as they're like, well, we don't feel that we need something we're not getting, and everyone said, well, just shut up and play football. What do you do? And I go, well, I think the truth lies there somewhere in the middle between, giving the players everything they want, and then this thing with the fans. But it just seemed weird. It felt like a heel turn that way. Like, well, now the players are the bad guys. Like, F the players. I want football. And you go, I thought you were just like championing this guy with AI photoshops and jersey swaps in the offseason. And now you're so that to me was weird. I never get that, because I have never been a professional athlete, getting paid to do anything. So who am I to tell anyone what to do that way? John, what did you make of that?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, Pat, you brought up Quentin Dormady, which leads me to we talked about like the top 10 players, and I said Lynn Bowden and Quentin Dormady were going to be in the top 10 players before the end of the year. So please delete that video. That'd be great. But Pat brings up a good point about, we don't know what the profit and loss here is. And what Pat and I have conversations, and Reed, you and I have had these conversations too, is when you have a company, it's not, for Fox and Disney, this whole thing is a rounding error. They don't care about losing, a whole ton of money. They don't want the headache of this though. If it came to that, if it came to some kind of player action where they walked out or something, because they could just say, enough. Yeah, it sucks, but listen, we're going to have to move on and do something else, especially when you have something like Redbird Capital involved. They're not involved to lose money. They're involved, you try to go for the long run here and try to make some money. So yeah, you talk about leverage, and that's just what I worry about. It's like, yes, the players need to be fairly compensated. And I don't know what else they wanted. I reached out to Quentin Dormady I would have loved to have talked to him to say, like, please spell it out. Like, what do you guys want? Like, in specifics, and like, what's the league telling you? We hear little, some things here and there, but I would love to just one-on-one talk to one of these quarterbacks to just say, tell me what the conversations are like. What do you guys want? And why is the league not giving that to you?
Yeah, I see a comment here about Dormady in the chat. Unless you were on the field with him, I mean, he was absolved of everything back last, with the rule books and all of that stuff. Right. So I hate that. I hate that too, where you get someone like a Pro Football Talk or whatever that reports stuff last year, and then when that's all gets cleaned up, they never, no one ever sees the correction right. as much as the original accusation. And then you have this fallout that way. Pat, has this helped? Obviously, the UFL has been in the spotlight here the last couple of weeks. I think more than it would have been. But with all you're getting is national coverage from Fox Office Sports and Mike Florio talking about how the league is going under. Is that helpful, Pat? Because I see this now being a thing. Last year, we couldn't do anything because it was the late merger and all that. And I see this now. Well, we had this labor strife, and we had all these players threatening to walk out. And then we had, what were we supposed to do? Even though, players walking out 2 weeks here doesn't have anything to do with the last 6 months.
I think we'll find out on Friday. I think we'll find out based off the year-long metrics of the viewership and everything like that. I think we'll find out in attendance and whatnot, but I think, what is it? All press is good press or something like that. So, I mean, people are talking about it. It's like when people comment on a YouTube video that dislike it, you still watched. Thank you.
Everything's engagement.
Yeah. I mean, keep boosting that algorithm, Cheech. I think we'll find out on Friday. And, maybe Battlehawks Stallions or Battlehawks Renegades might have been a little bit better. Obviously, we don't know what availability is, but I think once we get more data, I think we'll understand more about kind of the temperature check of everything going on and how many people are going to be engaged. I don't know if it's the echo chamber of social media. But I did see a bunch of accounts that I never followed before, after the Super Bowl, that were man, the Super Bowl was terrible. Can't wait for the UFL. So I don't know if that was the way it was last year. I thought the Super Bowl in 23 going into 24 was a lot better. But that's another conversation in itself, personally, of how do we ride the engagement, especially from a bad Super Bowl to football starved people while avoiding March Madness. It's a lot of minutia that I think we'll have data for in a couple days.
I'll give my thoughts if I could talk after John here. John, go ahead.
No, I agree with all that. I think that, we need to see some numbers here after the first week. We need to see this is going to be a bit of a barometer of success for this first weekend. Although I'm almost willing to throw it out. That said, I'll talk off both sides of my mouth here. I'm almost willing to throw it out because, as you guys mentioned, we're going against March Madness. That's why I know there are reasons for the way that they start these and the dates they start these. I really wish they would have waited at least a week to start the league. So you might be competing with the Elite Eight or the Final Four, but you would still you can work your way in there with the 4 games. So especially with the Friday night game. So but yeah, I think you make some really good points there. We need to see some numbers to start to feel things out here.
I'll be curious here, and Greg Parks has a great article up right now on Alt Football Digest if you want to check out kind of comparing the college football ratings on Friday with basketball and football and kind of what to expect from the UFL. I'm a little scared. I am one of the camp that the February start is the premier time to do it. I think you get lost in a lot of this now. I think the UFL did better last season than we thought, doing the similar weekend, but you're fighting against MLB opening weekend. That's a little bit diluted now just because they do the Tokyo series and all of that the week before, but it's still opening for, 90% of the fan base. I just think it's hard in the March Madness. I don't like that. Pat, any other thoughts on kind of the time of year? And then I'll pull up the schedule and we can talk kind of Battlehawks versus Roughnecks.
Yeah, I personally lean. I didn't dislike in theory the USFL timeline except 40 games in Birmingham isn't fun, which obviously it would be 5 and then you could put those games at night. It'd be a little bit cooler. I didn't dislike it because now you kind of create your own threshold, but in my optimal perfect world, I do like February 16th or whatever the date is, to start the week after the Super Bowl. People, especially if they don't like, Chiefs playing, they can go into that. My biggest argument for the earlier start was always rookie mini camps and getting those guys in the rookie mini camps because it creates content, it creates awareness to the NFL teams, and it creates guys in the signing cycle. So a lot of times this year, I think we only saw 2 or 3 guys during the mid-season get signed who are fresh players. If you get those guys in front of scouts in the rookie mini camps in May and whatnot, those guys are in the Rolodex for these GMs. And in 2023, I think the XFL had almost 10 guys signed who weren't in camp. Obviously AJ McCarron was one, but I mean, he had a little bit of a resume. Drew Plitt was another guy, a couple specialists and whatnot, but these are all guys who are in rookie mini camps with teams that didn't go into training camp, but when the injuries mounted, there was some sort of data on these guys. So I will always lobby that the best pathway to advertisement is your product and the proof that your product is superior, which is these guys transitioning and making money in the NFL.
That's what Michael Hugh. I'm sorry, Reed, but that's what Michael Hugh always said, who was the commissioner of the previous UFL. He always said spring football will never work, and that's why he ended up. One of the reasons that he left as commissioner, because they wanted to move in the spring. A lot of people might not remember, but the other UFL that played in the mid 2000s and lasted actually for a few seasons, they played a fall schedule opposite. They didn't play against the NFL, obviously, but they would play Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights. And that's what he said. It was about getting these players in the cycle of the NFL because everybody knows that's where they want to go.
Yeah.
I was going to pull up here just the kind of the TV ratings and everything as we transition into the Friday night. I found this from Mike Mitchell back last year. On the Saturday, 1.18. So that was the midday Saturday kickoff game on ABC, right? Or on Fox, on Fox. And then this year it'll be on ABC. On Fox Friday night. They did the back and forth with that with the championship. That's where I was confused with that. And then the 1.3, 900,000 on Sunday for that. Throw your estimations if you want in there, kind of weird thinking. John, where do you see that Friday? I was pulling up Greg's article on Alt Football, and when we were talking, it's kind of in the million range, 1.4 in there. It's there's certainly a floor there you want to hit in terms of the UFL. Have you seen I haven't been in a position to see any UFL on Friday night commercials rolling out here. Have we seen any promotion, or what are your thoughts on the Friday? And then we'll talk about the game.
Well, like I said, I've kind of been involved in March Madness, so I haven't watched a lot of a lot of Fox. So I don't know, but showing what Greg Parks had there, I really feel like and certainly they'll beat, there was a Providence St. John's basketball game there that went up against college football playoffs, which was 600,000 or something like that. I really do think that they can match or exceed a lot of those. And this is something that we have all talked about. If Fox will really go in, and it'll be interesting to, maybe we can see this week, if they really, really go in and try to promote this and make the Friday night thing a thing, make this game a thing, like they did so much promotion for SmackDown and they did so much promotion for, for the Friday night college football. I think that they can hit that million number. So it'll be interesting to see that's the one game that I am really interested to see for a variety of reasons. One being that, that's the Friday night game on Fox. And that should be like very possibly the largest rating that they're going to get the whole week. Cause it better be.
Pat, thoughts on that. And then I'll respond to a comment. We'll go to the game.
I mean, yeah, I have no idea what to expect as far as like ratings and whatnot. I care less about the ratings and more about the people in the stands right now. I don't know if that's the correct mentality to have, but I mean, if they're pulling 3 million viewers, let's say arbitrary number, and 6 people are in the stands, doesn't matter.
Will those 3 million come back?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get a 1.5. I mean, I hope that you have the St. Louis metro area is going to be a little bit engaged, and I mean, it is Fox and everything like that. I've never been great at ratings and whatnot. I care. And once again, I'm not sure if this is the correct metric. I care more about butts in the seats versus how many people are putting it on passively at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Mike's DMing me. He's driving. He goes, I wish I could call into the show right now. I said, Mike, I know. Mike's running around doing errands. It's okay, Mike. I just one quick thing on here. We did have a question, and we talk about this all the time. Do you think they made a mistake not having West Coast teams have this country? Dude, I'm the same way. I mean, I was at the Mariners opening. We do like a fan fest, run the bases and everything yesterday. And of course I went, but and like we're talking with our baseball podcast there because we listen and they're all like, it's all like the creator economy. And they're like, so like, what do you do again? I'm like, well, we used to have a team here, but we don't now. And then we kind of do, and they're like, so does anyone here care? I'm like, well, not really. It's a hard thing when you don't have any team. It's an impossibility for me to talk about with anyone because anyone I meet on a daily basis doesn't have a team that lives anywhere near them. So it's a really hard sell for me that way.
Yeah. I really thought, and Reed, I think you brought it up last year. One sign of success for this league would to have been to expand this year, even if it was 2 teams. I know they have kind of a expansion process in mind. But I really thought that, and if they did, it should involve West Coast, because I think that's a good point that the poster made there was that it was, does it feel like you're shutting out half the country because they don't have a team in their region? I mean, not even close.
Yeah. Pat, we have people on both sides. People need to be in attendance. Has to look good for television.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We all heard that way. Yeah. We all heard the other side.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's also for like the players, dude. Like, I mean, I coach, NAIA football, and like, granted our stadium is really awesome because it can make it look a lot bigger than it really is. But like, you have some teams that have stands that are so big and it's like 2,000 people there and 10,000, person stadium. And I mean, I think that's what makes DC so awesome is that it's $18,000 or 1,000 people and you get 10 there and you're like, 66% capacity. I mean, it wasn't protective, but it was Legion Stadium that was in Birmingham that made it look really bad, right? Like, I know there was more people there, like, not that they were selling out, but like, it didn't look like 5,000 people were there at a couple of their games at Legion. You put them in protective, it made it look a lot better. Like, I think the Liberty Bowl deals with that a lot.
The DC, Audi Stadium, Audi Field, whatever you want to call it, is the best place to see anything ever. I would love to be able to could the Mariners do a capital swing, and then we could also see something here in the spring? I don't know. A couple comments here, and I want to talk about the Battlehawks and kind of camp and all that stuff. One quick thing, ratings. It is going to be tough. It is WrestleMania season. WrestleMania is off of Fox. Obviously, UFL is taking that over, but I will be at WrestleMania in Vegas. Pretty excited about that. So I do think that is bringing a lot of that. Leon here, it's football versus forgetting about football. Mainstream fans, at all. It's all March Madness. And then just real quick, and this isn't throwing reels and heels under the bus at all. I thought it was expansion. They put out a press release. Totally. But that's why when we do stuff like that, you always take it with a grain of salt, because we had 2 head coaches walk out this week. So like, yes, the plan is to expand or kind of do all of that stuff. But any of that stuff. Yeah. And then Chuck here, I wonder if developments will affect that. I think all Daryl needs is like a hangnail or like a stub toe and be like, you know what? Like, I got too much on my plate right now. We got to wait again until next year. Like, I think there really needs to be ideal situations for the UFL to kind of move forward. John, any thoughts on that, or else I'm going to pull up the schedule?
No, I would agree with all that. And I think that, again, to show success, to show that you're doing things, and to show that this is financially stable, you don't want to expand if it's going to, it's going to kill you. We've seen too many spring leagues die because of that. But I would like to see 2 more teams next year, and I would hope that that's what we do see, assuming this league happens next year.
Let me go in super quick. Philip was asking about ticket sales, and then I'm going to talk about the games, I promise here. I have not done this year because I do feel like this is somewhat of a fruitful venture to try to do this with the retails. So we're only selling the lower bowl here, so don't worry about that. Let's just see what like home field. There you go. So that gives you kind of a good view of can you guys all see that? Am I doing that right? Yeah. So there is a lot of inventory available. So again, none of that above. It's just the stuff with the blue. Visitor side, obviously less on that. Not looking great. Again, I don't think Fox cares. I think they should care. I think that they care more about maintaining that ratings on Friday night with that. Any quick reactions?
Well, I think the concern I was talking about earlier, and maybe why there's tickets available right now, the forecast in Houston for Friday is an 84% chance of thunderstorms, potential for heavy rainfall, and then scattered thunderstorms that night. So to me, we talked about it before, and we joked about, I kept saying they're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice on weather, and you're also rolling the dice on a Houston Roughnecks crowd that didn't show up last year when they played at Rice Stadium. So are they going to show up, this year when they're back in their old home of TDECU?
Pat, quick, anything?
I just wonder how bad they messed up if they did becoming the Gamble Necks instead of the Roughnecks.
Yep, alienated a large portion of the family.
I just wonder. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to dig into the metrics and everything like that, but I just, hindsight 2020. I just wonder how much it matters.
I think it does matter. I don't think it's even if it's just a little bit. We're talking about a sport that is not, it's not the NFL. So even if it's a little bit, for them, that's huge. And you're right. I'm sure there was some business decision behind it. But it seemed to me the gamblers had more of, historically, certainly, but it just seemed to me like that was just more of a, to appease both sides.
I kick back on the historic. I talked to Larson about this like 2 years ago. He was like, well, the gamblers have more historical. And I was like, name one other person other than Jim Kelly.
They don't. Yeah. They don't.
And it's nothing against anyone. It just, it's Jim Kelly, big deal. But like, and it's anyone who says that. It's like the gamblers had more historical prowess. It's like Mike Mitchell is 70 years old, bro. Like he remembers it. That's it.
Hey, listen, I remember them.
Yeah, what do you? Yeah, because that's.
I'm also 70.
I thought you were 26, but like, yeah, man, it's like. And, going back to the alienation part, it's like, dude, they had 6,000 people coming to their games or something like that. You alienate 1,000 people. What is that? Like that's 18. That's 18% of your market, dude. Yeah. Like businesses shut down because of that, homie. So
Just real quick, Leon here says, we all know football will be fine, but if a tree falls in the forest, this was my point. And we're going to make John Lewis is off of Twitter, but we're going to make him a burner just so he could get back in our group chat. Because I said this the other day. I said, so the Mariners just revealed, I keep talking Mariners, but we just unveiled like all, what did I do there? Wow,
all right.
There we go. They just unveiled all of their stuff. So we have like this new, we have a new cup for the season, right? Like it's a new soda cup. And I go, the Mariners are the anti-UFL because the Mariners cannot play baseball at all, but we can like market the baseball really well. For the UFL, the football is, and we've always said this, so football has never been the problem with the UFL. It's everything else around it. So like if the Mariners sales staff could merge with that would be awesome. All right, let's go to this. John, you have been involved, and this will relate to our conversation here going into opening weekend. Have you felt as though you have been able to get a clear picture, and Pat, this goes for you as well, of any of the teams, what's going on? John, I know you've been on the showboats. I know, I think some of these teams are more clear to us than not. I think Anthony Miller's done a good job with the Renegades. You can look at all of his write-ups on altfootball.com. Pat, have you, with the Battle Hawks, you get what I'm saying here? Do we have a clear picture? I guess, Pat, we'll start with you. Any thoughts on the Battle Hawks here facing Houston? What do we know?
I mean, I know that I've talked to a couple players. I think I've only done like one or two media calls because, I have a real job and whatnot. And, from what I'm understanding, it's a couple things tied to the chest. I knew some things about Isabella. I know some things about some of the movement as far as the offensive line. I've talked to some players regarding the offensive coordinator situation. Believe it or not, it's actually people are a lot more excitement around Phil than normal. Not normal, than expected. My biggest fear, and I wrote this in my article, was I didn't want it to be a Orlando Guardians situation with them bringing in Seneca, and having the QB, the QB offensive or QB coach, because he actually has called plays and whatnot, be the woman in the red dress, to where Phil has obviously been there, but things aren't working. Very much relating to Robert Ford and Shane Matthews of 2023 Guardians. So regardless, really excited about all these weapons at receiver. I know a lot of people will get hyped up about Isabella being released. From my understanding, did not have the greatest of camp. But the one that they release that really upsets me a little bit is Kamoko Toure. And the reason why is because in 2024, they bring in Pita Tome-Peno and a couple other pieces and Chris Garrett to up that pass rush. And guess how many more sacks they had from 2023 to 2024?
Probably
0.
none. Yeah.
0. They stood at 19.
Yeah.
Toure comes into the UFL with 12 career NFL sacks. Not the craziest number, but way more than anyone on this podcast and in these comments, most likely.
Yeah, yes.
So, my biggest question for St. Louis is, how are the tackles going to hold up? I think they did a good job of, and I don't want to say this in jest, of moving on from Vidal Alexander, but their tackles are a little bit older. They're both creeping up on 30. I never have been a big fan of Jared Jones-Smith's footwork. I think he's got great hands and great length. And I didn't think Jawan Bushwell-Beatty was improved from 23 to 24. And what's that pass rush going to be? Donnie Abraham has done a great job of implementing a NASCAR package in which he's putting his edge rushers in the A gaps, and they're running what we call a heat front and whatnot, which the interior rushers are a little bit wider. I love that, but I'm just not sure, with how much better are we going to be in the pass rush. I think the secondary will be fine. I just worry about their trenches a lot more, and I'm glad they're playing Houston because I think they can get away with not being, air quote, fine-tuned. And I think I'll be a lot more excited for week 2 St. Louis than I will be week 1, because then I'll have an actual expectation for the rest of the season.
John, just general thoughts on, the return of Houston here and CJ, and we've had thoughts on that. And I'm trying to look at rosters, and we've been trying to track, and I've made jokes too about, what's Fox Sports saying and who's on the, there's not a lot of information to hear about this, which I always hope is going to change every training camp. But it's hard. I mean, Anthony Miller went to the Renegades practice. I think he said he was the only media there. You can't go, cover if you want to do. I've seen some local reporters now, or some national, like local reporters doing that remote Zoom stuff. But it feels like it's been hard getting information out.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of funny videos out of on social media and that kind of thing. But as far as like really going into, what personnel looks like, that kind of thing. I did have an opportunity to talk to Chris Payton-Jones and, with the Battlehawks. And he said he felt like kind of, building on what Pat said there, he said he felt like they have been much more competitive in camp this year than maybe they were last year. And I mean, it's showing right now. St. Louis Battlehawks, according to DraftKings, are a touchdown favorite over Houston. So somebody knows something. The information is out there. We just don't know, really. I would love to know more. Yes, we know Luis Perez, probably looked good in camp. And I've told you guys, 4 of the teams have finally put me on their mailing list. The other 4, and the league itself, it's like it's a dust bin. It's like I open my email and it's like tumbleweeds from some of these. So, I mean, shout out to the ones who actually do, send us some things that we can learn about. And, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. And going back to Pat's point and what Pat and I had talked about before, if you're not going to promote your talent that much, these players don't have a lot of leverage to say, well, we're going to walk out, because it feels like the league is saying, well, we don't want you to do that, but also we're not really going to promote everyone and start telling these stories yet. Maybe this week changes that with the game being on Fox, and this is the first week. So maybe we'll start to see some rollout of that this week. I hope so. I mean, the funny videos in camp, that's been fine, and it's good to see some social media presence. But, I think there are some of us out there, and I know we're the sickos, but we would like to know a little bit about, what these teams look like.
I know that they just pushed out the media. I think it was the updated media portal today.
Yes.
Have we had a chance to look into any of that stuff yet? Has that improved?
I looked at it earlier today. There's no video on there. It's a lot, yet that there's some photo. Well, there's a tab for photos, but earlier today, when I clicked that, it just took you to the Getty Images site, and there's nothing there. So some of the links were still kind of 404s. And I talked to somebody in the league earlier with one of the teams who said they're going to update the media portal. So stand by. And they did today, but it's still not, and this is, listen, I'm 99% of the people watching this don't care, but it's just, it speaks to, what the league is right now.
It does, and it speaks to, and we've always said this, them not even necessarily knowing the audience and the people that want to. We'll see here as we approach Friday with injury reports and practice reports and who's playing and what's the depth chart. It's like, that's the people you're trying to attract. And candidly, I've just given up. I made such an effort last year and we haven't podcasted every, it's been what it's been, and the labor strife and all of that. But I really used all of that energy last year, the repeated emailings every week over the last couple of years. And I don't even get all of the things from everybody or know what's going on. And it seems like that to me is the easy stuff, and be updating that. And let's get can we get some simulated depth charts up so people can start doing this? And how the hell are you putting St. Louis? Is it just based on last year, Pat? Is that what you can make of that? Is it just, well, the Roughnecks were ass last year, so they're probably going to lose? I don't even know how does DraftKings formulate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I know for a fact that DraftKings guys aren't getting more info. I think they're just going off the roster and being like, yeah, they're not that good. But I was thinking about this, by the way, is with the coaching turmoil. Is like CJ Johnson kind of like air quotes safe because because everyone's getting
good point.
It's like you have that guy at work who's like, I just need to be not the worst guy here. But I like that's, it's kind of just like the Will Smith meme a little bit, where he's just like
where's everyone else? Okay.
Yeah, like UFL Daily or UFL Central, whatever that is. Can you make that meme? It's not me, by the way. I've been accused.
I do like that. Yeah, I do like. I don't know who. I like that we have kind of our own little Centel Now account.
I love it.
I think that's funny. That's how you really know that you're doing all that. Just a couple comments here. Reels and Heels. They're talking about Brahma's doing. So hanging out at I can't. I can do that here. Showing at the Pearl. I love the Pearl in San Antonio. That's a freaking sweet spot. So that would be awesome. Get together for that.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Well, that's good. Thoughts on the rest of the matchups here? I mean, we don't get super deep dive, but Arlington hosting the Brahmas. Brahmas favorited there. Do you have any thoughts on that, John? And kind of the big Saturday? I guess that would be the standalone Saturday matchup at 1:00. Is that
I do like that. It's 4:00 Eastern time, and it's on Fox on a Saturday afternoon. Arlington, which is the headquarters of the UFL, you got to hope that, there's a good turnout for that and the optics are there. Yeah. Let's see what Brahma's 3-point favorites right now. I mean, again, how do we know? But DraftKings says that's what it is. This should be, now obviously Friday is the marquee game, but that Saturday afternoon game at 1. Now I don't know. I'm sure there's basketball on at that time too, or should be, I guess. I haven't looked at the schedule yet, but you'll have your Thursday winners playing sometime Saturday, and then Sunday, which that's noon and 3:00. It's probably the same way. I should have had I'll have to get.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. I mean, there are opportunities here. We complained so much about last year and the year before with the FS1s and the ESPN 2s and all that. We don't have a lot of that. So it's awesome to see on the first week Fox, ESPN.
It's not even showing up on my Fubo right now. I'm trying to see. Oh, 1:00. There we go. So 1:00. It's going up. And then what's the March Madness on TNT and all that? I'll scroll through it. Yeah. So you're going up against, direct regional finals, both those on ESPNU. I don't know. They did decent last year. You're going up head to head against the Athletics at the Mariners, John. So I don't really
I get it. So Friday Eastern time. So that game Friday is at 8:00 Eastern. At 7:00, you've got on Friday 7 Eastern time. You've got actually Ole Miss, Michigan State, Kentucky, Tennessee. It's in the 7:00 hour, and then the late games at 9:30 and 10 are Michigan, Auburn, Purdue, Houston. So you got 2 number 1 seeds that are playing in that late window. So that's why I say this should be, I almost want to throw it out, but I also want to say this is your first Friday night game. So you've got to make this kind of a marquee thing.
Pat, thoughts, Renegades here. Anthony's had a lot of coverage of Perez and all of that. I saw he had some comments this week talking about the development, the importance of string football, and Mike was going with people just not going at, but just trying to build up all of this. How do we feel about the Renegades? How do we feel about Perez? How do you feel about? It feels like we're kind of rolling this out now a third time with that. What do you make of the Renegades?
I mean, just talking all the matchups. Believe it or not, I think the marquee matchup of St. Louis and Houston is actually the least attractive one.
Totally.
I think everyone kind of know, and I don't say it in disrespect to the league. It's just the Battlehawks should be. Yeah, exactly, Leon. The Battlehawks should win this game. They should win by 10 points or more.
Candidly, yes.
Yes, and they need to work out all their kinks. Arlington and San Antonio, is exciting because we get to see Kellen Mond, and we, could see if he's going to be, PJ Walker or is he going to be Aaron Murray. And I find that really awesome because my biggest complaint about quarterbacks in pro football in general is get these guys out of QB purgatory. Kyle Sloter, he was a guy who just practice squad, elevation, never got the opportunity, did okay with the Breakers, was able to latch on for a couple weeks in the NFL, got another chance with the Renegades, washed out he's good. Like, we had our opportunity, couldn't make the standard. Kellen Mond to me is in that mold. Also with the Luis Perez thing, he's launching his book, I think on the 27th or 28th.
Thursday night Zoom. I'm on it.
I'm on it, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll see you there.
He's got a Zoom that he's talking about.
Oh,
His book.
it's a whole event. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't gotten my media invite.
It wasn't a media invite.
I have my book.
Yeah, dude.
Wow, you got it. Wow.
It's a book event. Yeah, so you can buy the book, and I guess he's going to talk. I did sign up. The sign up was free. You're going to have to buy the book though.
I think we've had beers with Luis Perez's cousins, both in San Antonio and then also in Choctaw, or at the Texas Live there. So I'll take that. I'm happy having a beer with them.
The biggest thing with the Renegades I'm curious about is how do they use Holton Ahlers or Luke Lennon to kind of elongate the effectiveness of Perez? And shout out to Davion Smith, big money moves, just showing up when he felt like it. I love that for him. He's like, hey man, I got this consulting gig I'm doing. Probably I can't be there, nor will I. Real pumped for him to give it another go in the league. But yeah, I'm just curious to see how, because Bob is like the best coach in this league, and not from like the wins and loss, but like him and Wade, they're just two bros coaching ball, loving it. And I just, I'm curious to see, in a perfect utopia where the league lasts for 10 more years, how do they integrate the next wave of these guys and whatnot to see if like they can actually build a true franchise? Because I think Bob and Wade are kind of the only ones who are thinking that far ahead, because they're going to be all right if this thing goes, kaput in a year. So like, I'm curious to see if they start integrating some of these younger guys. And as Luis, I don't personally think you launch a book with the intention of coming back another year.
No, I agree. Like this is the final chapter of the paperback when it comes out. This will be it. I thought it was interesting, back to the Battlehawks, that they posted today, our starting quarterbacks, and it was starting quarterbacks. So I don't know that you can't have two starting quarterbacks. So it was, so I thought that was interesting that, everyone is starting to show kind of their depth and who's going to be playing quarterback. And you had a twofer in the picture from St. Louis. So yeah, it's sounds like they're going to try to be pretty creative on offense.
You can do it against Houston. I could play quarterback. Exactly. You know what I mean?
There it is. Yeah, I think the three here on the left of the screen could probably get in there and maybe complete a pass.
Well, so here's my question here as we look to these last two games, and then I wanted to do that. So this Stallions game, this might be a disaster, right? Because you have Birmingham coming in off the championship game here, and DC, right? We have no coach, we have no OC. We're kind of reeling that way. The Memphis, they might have been screwed kind of anyway. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys make of those two games, where I think Birmingham probably was, obviously going to be the favorite anyway, but especially now with the head coach stuff. But John, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of wish this was switched around, because if Michigan Memphis ends up just being an absolutely terrible game and a blowout, it gives you no lead in for the Birmingham and DC, just from a TV perspective. Mm-hmm. Again, the people watching here, we're all sick, so we'll watch it. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't know. We see so often with a new coach steps in, and the players kind of end up playing for him. So I don't know that. To me, Birmingham DC is a lot more maybe compelling, maybe in my eyes, than it is your guys' eyes. But I really worry about that lead in, because Michigan Memphis right now. Maybe the Memphis players step up to play for Jim Turner, but also I don't know how much talent they had in the first place there, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah, that's what we're having comments here. Mike G is chatting in this way. Yeah, shocked to see Barlow leave. I don't know. Some of these teams might not have been great anyway, but certainly with all of this, it'd be nice if you could have had the Memphis DC kind of the battle of the coachless teams. I would have liked that. Bad thoughts on either of these other matchups before we get out of here.
I think Memphis, the Memphis game, it will be closer than we think, and then, because there's talk about a dual QB system. And I think with those two guys getting comfortable, I do think Perkins is way better, I say like maybe a gear or two above Etling. I think either one of those guys obviously wins the game, but with them not being able to get into a system, whether it be are they going every series or are they going every quarter? And then whichever quarterback that they lean towards for that second half or those second set of series and whatnot, that's when I think the kind of the continuity and whatnot getting together. That's when I could see that Memphis game looking into that 30 to 15, which it's only a 2-score difference, but it really was like Michigan kind of messing around a little bit, figuring out their kinks, and then exploding into the second half. With DC, with the continuity at coordinator, with Teamu, a good offensive line and good football players on that team, very generic speak, I know. Shannon Harris just needs to not mess up. That's all he has to do. And like I said, he doesn't have to worry about the X's and O's to an extent. He just has to not mess up. He needs to lean on his experience in his staff. There might be some issues because I know that they lost their offensive line coach as well. I don't remember who they replaced it with, but you have Fred Keiss and Greg Williams. These are two smart grown men. Use them.
Well, here's the question though. Do they have them though? Are they going to stay on staff? I haven't seen because there's some talk that Reggie Barlow was going to take some coaches with him.
Man, I will shoot somebody a text message about that because I have had the privilege of talking to some Tennessee State people, and I will talk to my mentor about that and maybe have a breaking news thing. But I mean, I feel like that decision comes out tomorrow, like now. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree.
Like I have to look at what Tennessee State's doing spring ball wise. I was under the understanding that they started already. But I don't know, man. I feel like if anything, he would have brought Shannon. Shannon's his guy. Like Shannon Harris is his guy. So it's do
you think? Go ahead, Pat.
He might leave after the season. Like it's not a big deal to take a QB coach or OC after spring ball. There's going to be coaching changes throughout college football after spring ball because guys, just stuff happens. It's a real reality of the situation. I mean, the guy from UCLA just went to UTPB within the week ago. Like there's been stuff with our staff as spring ball's going on. And so and it's going to continue to change. I believe a year or two ago, our offensive coordinator did spring ball with another college and then came to us.
Right.
Like we lost our OC. He went to another school. It happens. So granted, smaller level, but it happens all over the place. And if you go on footballscoop.com, job applications are out there every day. And it's the greatest website out there.
I was just going to, what do you guys think? Was this Shannon Harris move maybe Reggie Barlow saying, listen, I'm going to leave, try out this head coaching thing. This could be more of a resume builder than you coming, with me to Tennessee State.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not a bank account booster. So yes, it's like
definitely not.
But get your name on your resume as a head coach of a football team.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped Reggie Barlow. I mean, he had been a head coach before, obviously.
I don't think it helped. I think Reggie personally, I think Reggie Barlow was trying to make the jump from and I don't compare him to Bieniemy because there are two different human beings from a character standpoint. But I would say Barlow was trying to make the jump from college football coach to associate head coach at the NFL level with hopes of getting to become a coordinator one day. And then eventually, like Barlow, I think will be an NFL coordinator and then an NFL head coach before he leaves this earth. Yeah. I am 100% confident on that. If that is what he wants to do.
Seems like he's positioned for that. That's true.
He is in a very good spot to where, and he's got some connections to the pro level, played in the NFL. I think he has a Super Bowl ring. And he's got plenty of guys that have Barlow. And I think Mike has told me this. Barlow has had position jobs to him, but I think the associate head coach position job? Is it not even money wise, but a status wise? That's what he needs to get the coordinator to do his time and then there.
Yeah.
But if he crushes at Tennessee State, I mean, they play in the OVC, wins a couple of those, he could go to a Power 4 level. Power 4 guys have come from OVC schools.
Sure.
Anything else? I had a couple comments I'm going to pull up here before we get out. Pat's got it out here in a few minutes, and then I know, John, you got stuff, and it'll be good. This will be very.
This is my lunch break right now, so this is what.
That's good. I did think it was funny. They posted this, the Shannon Harris thing, and it's like just the most generic coach speak in the world. Like, I want them to know we're going to be the team that plays.
When I saw this, it reminded me of every college basketball media day that I covered in 30 years of television.
Everything.
We're going to play up tempo this year. We're going to do, but hey,
I want the team to know. I want them to know when we step on the kind of team that we are.
We're 100%. But I will give DC, it was probably good to get him, instead of just pictures, like get him talking and here, this is your new head coach that's going to be coaching this weekend. So I'll give him credit on that one for sure.
Oh, totally. I did see something about New Jersey is coming out here, so I'm going to see if we can get that before we get out. Pat, any thoughts on that? Oh, yeah, here we go. No, here, let's do this here real quick. So we got Under Armour here. I'll look through here. Pat, any thoughts on generic coach speak? Let me get something decent to pull up.
Oh, dude, I love generic coach speak. You know what I always have to do with my kids is I always have to it's I always gotta give some generic coach speak where it's like, yeah, man, you gotta drive your hands, keep your leverage, and yeah, man, like keep in this fight, and
low man wins.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing is if you play for the name on the front, the name of the back will prosper.
All right, here we go. So let me share this and this website, but we got it here. I'm like, can we just pull up the thing? So we have new Under Armour stuff, so you can buy shirts ever, but they now have the jerseys on here, which I think look fantastic because you get home and aways at both, which we never got. Again, like and subscribe, get us up to 4,000 subscribers. Dustin at Royal Retros will make you a custom one. I have a Dragons one from 2020 that's awesome. I get complimented that all the time. But anyway, we have all these on here. Birmingham. I still love the Roughneck stuff. I think the Roughnecks look really good. But go check them out on there. Not a big fan of the one. It's a tough number to wear. I was really upset when Deebo Samuel decided to keep a one for the Commanders. I was going to get a Deebo 19. John, I was going to get the Vapor Rush Nike Elite, the $500 one. I was going to get that, but he didn't. He had a one. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. Anything else before we want to get out of here? Mike did have a comment that he's not 70, but he is. Where is he at? I had it here. I had Mike's. Not 70 yet. Hope there. Mike was sharing some DMs in the group chat. People very, very shocked by that. So there you go. Anything else before we want to get out of here, John? Any comments?
Well, that brings up a good question, though, that maybe that's why in the release, I mean, I'm speculating here because it's what we do, but in the release, it never said that Jim Manos, the GM, made this Jim Turner elevation. It was the league that did it. I just thought that was interesting. And Abdul's right. This that Under Armour gear looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, it looks good.
And he's also right about that too.
Anyway, Pat, anything else from you?
No, I just really excited to see the Stallions, believe it or not, in the post Potter era. I don't think this is a legacy thing for Skip. I think I'm a pretty big Skip Holtz fan.
Same.
Just the love that his players have for him and whatnot. But I mean, I think my favorite part about the Stallions, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm sick of them winning," and I'm like, "But it's really not them. It's a new group of guys and whatnot." And I'm curious to see on the Magoo, how does Magoo look like in 2025? I still. A lot of people don't realize how many reps he's gotten and whatnot, his perspective with the receiving and whatnot. So I'm really excited to see how Birmingham looks. I mean, that team looks great. I mean, Potter's not there anymore, but I think 80% of those players are his. So I don't get mad when they repeat because it's not Pat Mahomes. I mean, they've won 3 different championships with 3 different QBs. I would even lobby a 4th because Matt Corral got him to the championship game against Michigan last year, and I'm excited. I'm pumped for that game too. So I know we didn't talk about Birmingham too much, but I mean, they are the standard. So
we did, I think, our best kind of working through all this stuff. One quick thing on here. Yeah. So we already had the thing, Leon, who's number one? You can't do the number one. Like, just do 25. Like, just do the year of the thing. If you're only doing one number, one looks terrible. But if you do look down here, it's a pre-order. It'll ship on April 18th. Which is, and again, obviously it's not going to ship by the kickoff this weekend, but like the season's done. I mean, that's going to be end of May.
That's true.
Right. So like, just something to think about. I wrote a horrendous email to WWE Shop about something because I ordered a John Cena shirt that they canceled, and they said so. And it took them 3 weeks to cancel my order. And then they go, oh, it's sold out. I go, well, everything's gone now, and everything's markup, and everything's bootleg. I go, okay, so what did I get from buying through the source? Anyway, so they have all that on there. Boomer says someone beat the Stallions. All right, we're gonna get out of here. So Pat's gonna go. John and I are gonna get out of here. Check out Pat's channel, Analyze and Educate. All his episodes go on allfootball.com, and then John's John Lewis Sports on there. John and I will look to be back every week at some point after the games. We'll talk through all that and figure out, and we might have some special guests and stuff. But like, this is kind of where we're at now. If it's if people got too much stuff going on, we do it when it works. If you like it, listen, please like and subscribe. But I can't stress anymore. I spent 4 years trying to stress about all this stuff. So that's what we're going to do. Pat, anything from you? And then we'll go to John. We'll get up.
No, guys, obviously, like Reed said, my channel is Analyze and Educate. I will probably be doing QB ranking videos, all that goofy stuff that I've done for the last couple years. Should have a Showboats player do a little 15-minute video with them. Personal opinion to those, I don't know how many people are watching this, have tuned in. Usually we do pretty well with these type of things, but very grateful that we're able to continue to do this for 2025. And obviously, like, this might sound a bit crass, but the more engagement, the more videos we do. If people don't like it, we'll still probably do it, but
just for ourselves.
It's more just like hanging with the homies and type thing. But guys, continue to give feedback, and obviously I think the more feedback we get, and worst case, the CFL will continue to do their thing. But we got to prep for when we get this real right, if the QFL is our next niche.
Pat and I, we're always going to work for the Quality Football League here coming up in 2025. John, anything else from you?
No, I had, like I said earlier, shout out to Brian Stoll, who's the PR director at St. Louis, helped me get a one-on-one with Chris Payton-Jones, who has a great story. If you don't know it, I'm hoping to tell it this week. And I did not mean to put my handle on there twice, but it is at John Lewis Sports if anybody wants to check it out.
I like that,
I do some UFL stuff. I try to at least weekly, and I'll be on here with you, Reed, every week. We'll break down the games. I'm looking forward to it. I'm cautiously optimistic. So I'm looking forward to this weekend, and I'm pulling for this league, man. It is so fun to watch, and it's given these players so many chances. So looking forward to it.
Like I said, we're gonna do what we can in the way that we can in the time. But I appreciate it. Check out Anthony's work over on allfootball.com, and Pat's got stuff, and John's episodes, everyone's kind of stuff, and Mike and Greg, and should be fun. Give a thumbs up. I like everything, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.